All right, welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andy Mack. A major shakeup is underway inside of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement leadership. Growing friction with the Department of Homeland Security over deportation tactics and priorities. According to Fox, ICE leaders in Denver, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Phoenix, and San Diego were all relieved of their jobs and moved to other posts. And of course, this coming in on Fox News saying 10 times a mass shakeup of ICE leadership underway amid that growing friction as the overhaul affects ICE field offices in at least 8 cities, will replace many senior leaders with Border Patrol officials, marking an unprecedented power shift inside the DHS, exposing sharp divisions on how far to go in ramping up deportations. This according to Fox News. And it was yesterday, the big scoop from Washington Examiner's Anna Giaratelli saying the Trump administration removing top 5 ICE officials from their posts will replace them with several senior Border Patrol agents. Let's be joined right now telling this story, the first really on this story, talking about this major shakeup within ICE. Anna, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. What does this mean for immigration operations throughout this country?
This means it's going to be bigger, tougher, and faster. I guess it's kind of like the Kanye West song, actually. ICE is now getting significant help from Border Patrol. I spoke with the head of Border Patrol last week, Mike Banks, and he told me that 27 cities now have Border Patrol agents in them assisting. That means Border Patrol agents have been pulled from the northern, the southern, and the coastal borders. The border is in a really a terrific spot since President Trump took office, far fewer people crossing. And so Border Patrol is able to send those agents to help elsewhere. But what we're seeing are not just agents assisting ICE, but senior Border Patrol agents now filling the ranks within really high positions at ICE. And so the question is now, what is really going on?
Yeah, what is really going on, and some of the friction is very much in plain view for all the public to see. And of course, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem there. What is her role in all of this?
Kristi Noem is the secretary. She's a Trump nominee. She works alongside Corey Lewandowski, who is a senior advisor at the Department of Homeland Security. And they are the ones who are implementing President Trump's agenda, working closely with Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller in the White House to carry out that agenda. They're going up against Tom Homan. Tom Homan is the former Border Patrol agent of 3 decades, went on to be ICE chief, and now is the White House border czar. So a little different focus now than immigration, focuses on the border, but there's a clash going on behind the scenes because Tom doesn't want ICE officers, agents, officials to be touched. And right now we're seeing DHS, Noem, and Lewandowski really pushing for more to be done. And what Homan is saying is you can only do so much.
Yeah, that is a very good point. Obviously, that continuing to grow, and maybe people aren't very familiar that ICE and Border Patrol are very separate. You also reported on this saying what's coming up is Border Patrol's more in-your-face, aggressive style. Talking about this from Greg Bavino, talking about some of this in different cities. Are we, as you noted, is this going to be more aggressive? Are we expecting more deportations because of this change?
I think we could see more deportations. Certainly, arrests are the first step in a deportation. I think we could see more arrests because if you're having Border Patrol assist, that's more boots on the ground. You're going to see, more done with that. I think as far as the approach we're seeing, Greg Bavino, he's a Border Patrol official from El Centro, California. He's leading this citywide operation in Chicago and others. He's really taken on more of President Trump's styles, more of in your face, don't mess with me, we're coming in hard, parading Border Patrol agents down Michigan Avenue, I believe it was, in Chicago a few weeks ago. And so that's what President Trump likes. That's what DHS likes. And so they want to see more of that. And then the upsell is even if they're not necessarily arresting more people, that message to someone in the country illegally is, we're here, we're coming to get you. It's very aggressive. And so for the Trump administration, even if they're not putting hands on people, they might be scaring people potentially into self-deporting.
And we've seen President Trump put these individuals in place to undergo his immigration priorities and operations. Is there any indication that President Trump was aware of this change? Did he approve of this change in any way?
We don't have any knowledge that the president himself was aware of or approved of this change. Again, it's so many things that the president has to decide on a daily, hourly basis, that it is his top officials in the White House and Secretary Noem at the Department of Homeland Security really making these calls and having ICE and Border Patrol officials carry out their decisions.
And we noted those 5 cities, Denver, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Phoenix, and San Diego. It goes beyond that, correct?
It does go beyond that. Yeah. Bill Malugin at Fox News said it's now gone to 12 cities. And so this started last Friday. We broke the story about these 5 cities where the letters were given last Friday. The 5 were asked to leave their offices Monday, and Border Patrol agents are in the process of filling some of those ranks, right? One of them will be an ICE HSI, which is a different component within ICE, taking over that office. But it is continuing to spread. ICE has 24 field offices around the country. So if we're at 12 so far, we're seeing about half of those leaders being pulled out. And really an unprecedented move by the administration.
Yeah, and we've seen some of the operations underway in some of these major cities. And you mentioned Corey Lewandowski. We talked about Kristi. Noem. You mentioned the border czar, Tom Homan. With this change and the friction, does that mean someone could potentially be on the outs? Could we see someone leave their position, whether it be a border czar or just kind of a special assistant or a different role? Is someone else going to depart it because of these changes?
You know, at the end of the day, this comes back to the president wants more people getting arrested and deported. And Stephen Miller and Kristi Noem went into ICE's headquarters in May, and they made it very clear. They said we need to be deporting more people. And they've continued to hammer down on that message. And ICE has said we can only do so much. And so, you know, it'll be interesting to see what Border Patrol can do to help that. But at the end of the day, again, it may just come down to someone's going to get, you know, put on the chopping block. You know, it could be Tom Homan if he takes a stance and really tries to defend ICE, even though he's more involved at the border now. You know, Kristi Noem and Corey Lewandowski sort of have each other to protect one another. It could also be Todd Lyons, the head of ICE right now, the acting director at ICE. Border Patrol Chief Mike Banks is safe, and certainly Greg Bovino is on the administration side right now. But if heads are going to roll, it's someone's gonna get terminated.
We'll see what happens there, because there is that friction, very present, the tension, very present. Any other questions you have for this? Because you mentioned it's an unprecedented move, this major shakeup, this major shuffle as ICE there, some of the leadership moving now, Border Patrol in their place. What other questions do you have?
You know, I want to know what's going on the ground. I know Border Patrol agents who have been assigned to some of these cities, and so I'm in the process of reaching out to them to see, does it seem like ICE is happy to have your help? Are they, you know, unhappy to have your help? And something I spoke with a former senior Border Patrol agent just before our appearance here now, and he was saying to me, you know, for years, Border Patrol has overwhelmingly resented ICE because we apprehend these people at the border. It's then for ICE to you know, track them within the country, put them in court proceedings and such. And during the Biden administration, we just saw mass releases, and it was really haphazardly, you know, taken care of. And so Border Patrol wants to see ICE do more. And if they're not going to do it, these agents feel really good about going into the interior of the country and being able to do it themselves. But that certainly is going to be a very frayed relationship between ICE and Border Patrol in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, obviously there's some tension between Border Patrol and ICE, and potentially between communities, and now these ICE Border Patrol officials going in there in different locations. Anna, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Great reporting as always. We appreciate your time here on Live Now.
Thanks so much.
All right, thanks so much. All right, great conversation with that major breaking, developing story, a shakeup there inside of the Immigrations and Customs Enforcement as leadership moving now on from this. And I do want to put up this here on Live Now from Fox News, saying a mass shakeup as ICE reveals the bitter internal divide over the deportation strategy. It marks an unprecedented shift of power inside the DHS, exposing sharp divisions over how far to go in ramping up deportations. The overhaul affects ICE field offices in at least 8 cities and will replace many senior leaders with Border Patrol officials. ICE leaders in Denver, LA, Philly, Phoenix, and San Diego all relieved of their duties and moved to other posts. This, according to Fox News.